Hello everybody, my name is Merc and today I am checking out the new expansion for Inscryption. This is a free update titled Kaycee's Mod. If you've not seen Inscryption before, it released last year. It was a indie darling card game released by the Daniel Mullins team. Which, if you've not seen his games before, usually have a bit more than meets the eye, and this game was no exception to that rule. It starts off as a card game with some horror aesthetics and a cabin in the woods that you are playing the card game in that had ideas of escape room mechanics. It was very unique, and the layers just kept adding on and on from there. But now there is the new Kaycee's mod, which turns the game into a roguelite experience as opposed to a standard narrative experience that the game initially was. I am very intrigued by this game. I had a really good time playing through the base game, but now let's play through Kaycee's mod. So it appears that these are additional challenges you can give yourself. So you may not reroll, you don't start with items, you have less items, or you get or it costs more to buy pelts, I guess, to trade with the trapper. Anyway, you accept some of these if you want to make the game more difficult on yourself. But we don't necessarily need to do that just yet. I just kind of want to check out what's going on in Kaycee's mod. Okay, so actually, they're asking you to choose one. Let's go with no hook. We're not going to start with the hook item, as much as the hook item's pretty good. It is just a one-use item, and I'll explain more of that later. So this appears to be our deck so far. We start with a Stoat, a Bullfrog, Wolf, and a couple Pelts. Don't normally start with pelts in this game, so that's already a difference to the base game. So this is the map, of course. You can choose your paths, kind of similar to Slay the Spire. This is how the base game started as well. You just kind of explore and make your deck stronger, try to survive the encounters along the way. And then we have the dealer over here who dons on masks when he becomes different NPCs you may encounter. Do you mind if I examine those pelts of yours? Says the trapper. So we have 2 rabbit pelts. Let's start with your hare pelts. Here's what I can offer. And he's going to trade us cards for said pelts. So this is already unique to this mod. Normally you don't really start with pelts, as I mentioned, and therefore you cannot trade right away. So because this is the start of a run, I kind of want something that is easy to summon, which is not necessarily any of these cards. And as you can tell, there are sigils on the bottom of the cards. They each do something different. We'll explain them as we go. I'm not quite sure what I want here. The ringworm has no attack damage, so I'm not quite sure if that is a wise choice at the start of the game. It doesn't seem like it. I think I'm gonna go with the sparrow, just because it's easy to summon. And by that logic, maybe one of these 2 blood summon cards. I'll explain how to summon creatures in a moment, in case you've not seen gameplay of this prior. Let's go with the pronghorn, because it has a unique sigil here that I quite like. These pelts are most excellent, my thanks. So he takes off the trapper mask, and now we can choose where we want to go. So this, if I remember correctly, gives us more items. This gives us a totem, which will further boost our creatures on the field. And this is a campfire, which might also boost a creature. But let's go with the totems. Having a good totem to start with is pretty good. The bones of the ancient woman creaked and groaned as she approached. With gently shaking hands, she placed her offerings before you. So I think these are like wolf creatures and bird creatures. We can choose how to buff them with these totems. The old woman collected her pieces and shuffled off into the darkness. That said, we need 2 pieces of a totem to make it work, so we only got the bottom half of a totem, and therefore we can't use that just yet. And we're gonna go to our first battle. So we just draw randomly from our deck, as you would for most card games. You can see the field here. There are 4 lanes and a couple nature objects that are blocking the way. There's a boulder on my side, and he has a grand fir on his side. He's going to summon a pronghorn. Next turn, it'll jump in and try to attack. These sigils, as I mentioned, since we have the pronghorn, I might as well look at this sigil in particular. The bifurcated strike means that whenever it attacks, it doesn't attack in front of them, as most cards do. It'll actually attack to the diagonals. This is quite a bit of a lengthy intro, but this game sort of requires it with this roguelite mode. So I'm going to start by summoning a squirrel. This is going to be a tricky fight already, I can tell. So I'm going to summon a squirrel over here, and then I'm going to have to sacrifice the squirrel to summon a card. Every time you sacrifice one creature, you get 1 blood usually. So I need 1 blood to summon this bullfrog, and I will summon it over here, safe from the pronghorn. I don't need to see your hand, sir. All right, so the pronghorn, or the bullfrog attacks, and so does the pronghorn. Pronghorn attacks twice, as I mentioned. We're going to grab another squirrel. You can choose between grabbing a card from your deck, from your custom cards, or from your squirrel deck. And the way to win is you need to do 5 more damage than your opponent. Right now we're at 0 damage, but if we do 5 before they do a full 5 damage, then we will win the battle. Hopefully this is not too much of a lengthy explanation for y'all. So we can summon the wolf or the pronghorn, but it involves us summoning a squirrel and sacrificing both the squirrel and the bullfrog. And I think it might be wise to do so. We're just going to place the wolf over here, and now we do 3 damage to his HP. And let's just pull another squirrel just for now. It does seem like if I just place a squirrel, we don't even need to place a squirrel, and attack by ending my turn, we just won by doing 5 damage total. So now we have a choice between going here, which I've never seen before, or choosing a card from a certain tribe. That's what the symbol means. So we could choose between wolves and bugs and birds. Those would be examples of tribes in this game. You came across a hobbled man standing beside some boulders. You caught me off guard. Not supposed to see me till further down the road. Say, I like me a gamble. If'n you can pick a boulder that has gold in it, you can keep it. Show me where to strike. So I guess this is just random, it doesn't really matter. Let's go with the left card. We got a worker ant. Dang nabbit, no gold. But that is a funny looking varmint. Keep it. Okay, so this worker ant in particular, it costs 1 to summon, 1 blood, has 2 HP, and its attack depends on how many other bugs are on the field. Maybe it's just ants, but it's bugs in general, I'm guessing, for now. But it also has a custom sigil on it where you can sacrifice this infinite amount of times. It does not die when you try to sacrifice it. That means you can get 1 free blood every turn. So part of the reason why I went down this middle path is now we're going to go back to the Totem Carver. The decrepit woodcarver appeared before you. She moved with a certain vigor in spite of her considerable age. So now we can choose to give a creature flying. So if I choose this wolf head, all my wolves or beasties, this is not necessarily all wolves, but any 4-legged, mammal beast will get the flying ability. That's what this bottom part of the totem signifies. We can also take another bottom here for another sigil, or we can grab this bug face to give our worker ant flying, which is interesting, but I think the wolf having flying is more important than having the ant. So now we have flying wolves. You hunched down to place her offering in your pack. When you looked up again, the ancient woman had vanished. This game just oozes with aesthetic, as you can tell. Normally in this game, you can actually leave. Oh, you can just leave and walk around the cabin. That is interesting. They even reset all the puzzles. I don't know if that means that you can also unlock the puzzles, because you can unlock this cage. Sometimes you could find things in the environment that you can take into the game. There's also a puzzle box here. Oh, you can change the music, it seems. That one stirs up memories. I don't know if this was in the base game. I don't seem to remember it. And that's music off? No, okay, that's the standard music. And then there's this flashing room in the side, which we don't need to get into. Also, I noticed this door has 2 4s on the bottom. That's odd. I'm starting to think that maybe this roguelite mode isn't just a roguelite mode, if that makes any sense to y'all, because this game already, as I mentioned, the base game had so many layers to it. There were puzzles, and walking around the cabin led to getting items that you can use and new cards you can use. But instead of all that, let's just go to the next battle. I'll worry about that later. So we have our worker ant, sparrow, and stoat. They all cost 1 to summon, which is pretty good. He's going to play 2 sparrows next turn, so he's going to do 2 damage to us. So I think the wise play is to play a squirrel and summon our worker ant immediately, who has 1 damage because there's 1 ant on the field. And then we end our turn. There's also a second currency in this game instead of just blood as a mechanic. There's also bones, which you can see my bone token over here. Every time a creature dies on your side of the field, you get a bone, and that is a further summoning cost for some cards. So now we can play another card. Normally we would need a squirrel or something else to sacrifice, but because this worker ant has infinite sacrifice, what is it called? Many lives. It does not perish when it dies. Let's try summoning the bullfrog. We'll sacrifice the worker ant and we'll summon the bullfrog right here. The bullfrog has a mighty leap, I believe it's called. 273. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So when the sparrow attacks, the bullfrog will actually defend. Normally flying units just fly straight over any creatures in front of them to do damage. I don't like that there's just a spider on the field. And he's going to summon a skunk next turn that does no damage, but it actually makes the opposing creature weaker, 1 less power, because it is stinky. So I did 1 damage to the sparrow and 1 damage to the dealer, and he did 1 damage back. So we're kind of just hoping to find the wolf, I think, and there it is. Now we got a flying wolf. So this bullfrog's already hurt, but I don't know if we want to sacrifice it to bring out the wolf immediately. So I think what we're going to do instead is sacrifice our worker ant once more, play the sparrow, get 1 damage back. So we're back at 0, and then we're back at -1 again. And this time we're actually going to play... are we going to play a squirrel? I'm thinking. Give me a sec. What's the board looking like? So we need to do 6 damage to win. We only have 3 damage on the field, but the skunk is blocking, so we actually have 2 damage on the field. Let's pull from our main deck, and we got the pronghorn, which, you know, I should have suspected that, but I didn't. How about let's... yeah, I didn't want to do this, but we're going to do it anyway. So the bullfrog is hurt. We're going to sacrifice the bullfrog. We'll place the wolf right here. And now we got a flying wolf and sparrow attacking. And we are close to winning the battle. He did 1 damage back. So now all we can pull is from our squirrel deck. And we might as well just pull from it. Summon our stoat, even though we could have just sacrificed the worker ant. And then we attack. And then any overkill damage you get applies as an additional currency for outside battle, which we can use to trade with the trapper. We could trade with someone. I don't remember who it is. So we notice on that in the book, we can actually pull the book out right here. In the Mighty Leap page, there's 273 right here. So this would be a good example of showing what we can do outside of the board game, the card game, I guess. 273 opens up the safe, and what do we find? Sludge. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Normally in the story mode, you find a card in there, and that helps progress the story a little bit. So I'm assuming that just signifies, yeah, there's nothing in here. You found the code. It doesn't mean anything, though. And now we're going to go towards the trapper. I don't know why it says 7. Care to look at me pelts? Take a pelt free of charge. See the quality? Alright, so that overkill bonus I mentioned prior, we have 1 currency as a result of it. It is a golden tooth, it seems like, but it costs 2 to summon or to buy any of these pelts. Also, it looks like you can buy this knife. For my knife, you'll need more. That is new to this expansion, I think. And then we got 1 pelt for free. Unfortunately, we can't do anything else. Thanks for your business. Unfortunately, I just stole a pelt from that man, and he's not too happy with it, I'm sure. That pelt is actually kind of a dead card in our hand. Unfortunately, if we try to summon it in battle, all it is a blocker. A rock may get you out of a hard place. Its bleeding yields 3 blood if you can ignore the bleeding. That's pretty funny. A gust from this may lift your creatures into the air, if only for a turn. So he's offering us a choice of items here. This gust doesn't seem that pertinent with our wolf totem. The black goat is interesting, but it also costs 1 to summon. And the boulder is just a free blocker. In that case, man, the boulder doesn't really help you win games. It helps you not lose them, and that's something that I don't value very much. That said, we don't need 3 blood from a black goat, so we'll probably just take the boulder, is my logic there. So we got some choices up ahead. Again, we can go left or we can go right to fight this elite battle, I guess. I'm looking further down the road, though. I think I want to go for this card choice, the tribe card choice, as opposed to a cost card choice. This will say like, hey, do you want a card that has 2 blood? You pick it, and then it'll be a random card that costs 2 blood. And then this is just a random card choice, period. Which also might be interesting, but the fact that we have some wolf synergy going on kind of makes me want to try to see if we can get another wolf. So we'll go to the left and do the easier battle. If we went right, the opponent would have a totem of their own, which could be something very scary or it could be negligible, who knows. So we got a mole and a pronghorn. This mole's ability, when an empty space would be struck, a card bearing this sigil will move to that space. So it's basically a defender that teleports around. So instead of trying to get free damage with a creature, it'll jump in the way. It does not have any damage, but it has 4 HP, so it's kind of annoying. So we have our rabbit pelt here. Like I said, it's a dead card in our hand. If we play it, it can block 1 damage, but that's all it does. We can't even sacrifice it because it has no blood. It's just a pelt. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna play our squirrel here and play the bullfrog using the squirrel. Not the strongest first turn. And he's immediately doing 2 damage to us because the pronghorn is kind of ridiculous. And speaking of kind of ridiculous, I think what I'm gonna do is use my bottled squirrel over here, an item, which gives me a squirrel card for free. It means we don't have the item anymore, though. We're going to sacrifice both of the squirrels, play the pronghorn, and then we're going to attack our way through. And as we mentioned, the mole gets in the way. Unfortunately, he is still doing damage to us. We got to pull another card here. We got our flying wolf, which is interesting, but we'll have to sacrifice both of our creatures in order to get it. We are kind of in dire straits, so I'm considering it. The pronghorn's not going to do amazing work just yet. But I think leaving the pronghorn alive is pretty important right now. If I remember correctly, this item is pliers. To use it, you will place a weight on the scales. The pain is temporary. So we'll actually just get 1 more damage out of the scale, if I remember correctly. Because I'm a little worried, we're going to play the rabbit pelt right here, because the pronghorn is going to attack diagonal on both corners, and we'll just end our turn. Not the strongest turn, of course. Actually, it was pretty weak overall. I don't know if I want to pull this squirrel right here. Kind of want to. What's going on with the board is what I'm trying to look at here. So the bullfrog is going to kill the mole. The elk fawn is going to die to the pronghorn, and so is this pronghorn is going to die as well. So in that case, maybe we do pull the squirrel and just do a slow tempo turn. I'm just going to end my turn, hit the bell, and all of his creatures are dead. And he's not going to summon anymore because they were not in this lane, and he's still not going to summon anymore, so he's in a pretty dire spot. I see the way this is going, I concede. So he's actually ran out of cards, it looks like. You may accept my surrender, or you may finish this match the slow way. So we can take the olive branch. The one interesting idea, though, is if we do this, we don't get the overkill bonus. So I kind of want to see... I kind of want to just play the battle out. So let's sack the squirrel, play the worker ant, and just press start, or press spacebar, play the battle out. And then he's still raising his hand? He is. We'll play one more squirrel, play the squirrel down, summon our wolf, finally, and now hopefully we'll do some overkill damage and get a couple pieces of currency. Golden teeth for the trader, or trapper, next time we encounter the trapper. And then we'll be able to choose a new card for our deck. Why do we have a 4-leaf clover? Oh, you can re-roll, and I just used it. Oh, okay, well, now we know. So that's unfortunate. So we can choose between a reptile, another pronghorn type creature, or a bird. We do have both a bird and a pronghorn in our deck. These creatures tend to be pretty powerful, so let's have a look. The moose buck, a regal moose, the creatures of the wild make way for it. So this can push other creatures on your board to the side. It also does 3 damage, has 7 HP, but it costs 3 to summon. Pretty strong card, but pretty slow. And now we are encountering a buffing station of sorts. So, this is an interesting mechanic. We can place 1 card up top and 1 card below. And the card below applies its sigils to the card up top. So we're going to get rid of the pronghorn because it's a 1-3 for 2. And the wolf is a 3-2 for 2, which is slightly better stats. The benefit of the pronghorn gets added to the wolf, so now the wolf moves at the end of every turn and also attacks twice, which is ridiculous. And then now we can do it again. I'm not quite sure what card we're going to buff here. In fact, let's look at the other... what we can sacrifice. Unfortunately, I don't really want to get rid of any of these cards. Let's do... oh, I forgot the bullfrog is a reptile. That makes sense. Actually, it's not, though. It's an amphibian. I'm not going to look too hard into that one, though. Actually, no, the real strat is we're going to sacrifice the sparrow and make our moose buck flying. And if we ever play this moose buck, it's going to be crazy. So we have some pretty powerful cards, and that's kind of how this game goes, is you try to break the rules as much as you can. You start off really weak, just fighting creatures of the forest. And now we fight a boss. Yeehaw! 'Twas the prospector. Okay. So one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is these candles on the side represent your life. You have 2 of them to start. And if you die once, you snuff out one of the candles, and then you have 1 more life left. He also has 2 candles as a boss, but because we came in here with 2 fires, we got a free card called the Smoke. And the Smoke is 0-1, but gives you 4 bones when it dies, which can be very good. So it looks like this is the exact same fight as in the base game, where he has a pack mule and a coyote to start. It's important to kill this pack mule as soon as possible, because it actually gives you cards when it dies. Just something you learn when you play the game. So now we're in a tricky situation because this coyote is going to attack us for 2, and we kind of have to let it happen. That said, we can just play the Smoke in front of it instead. And then I guess we're going to play the squirrel and our stoat. Yeah, I think we play the stoat here. You get 1 damage for free. You can see the cards underneath the pack mule. This is going to be a hard fight, I think. We do have our boulder. Let's play another squirrel. Yeah, this is going to be a tricky fight. I don't even know where to start with this one. We gotta hope this Stoat kills the pack mule very quickly. So we're gonna play the boulder in front of that coyote and then end our turn for now and hope that we can draw something good next turn, because we are in a crappy position right now. So thankfully we did get a decent card, something we can play. Our worker ant will attack the coyote, and the coyote is down. He summons another coyote though to attack our ant next turn. We're just slowly chipping away at the pack mule. Our rabbit pelt is unfortunately not doing anything handy for us. Let's pull another card since we can't really summon a squirrel anyway. We got our bullfrog, which isn't going to be that useful at the moment. I think unfortunately we just have to end our turn. And we're back to neutral in damage. Our creatures are dying, but we have a crap load of bones. Unfortunately, we don't have any creatures that use bones as a summon. We did get our moose buck. I probably should have grabbed a squirrel there, now that I'm looking at the board. How much damage we have? This is an unfortunate state of affairs. Let's play our rabbit pelt as a blocker and end our turn. He's got a mole coming up. Next turn, we are going to kill the pack mule. So right now, we're going to play the squirrel, play a bullfrog, and then the bullfrog will kill the coyote. The pack mule did die, finally, and we got a bunch of cards in our hand now. Dang, dammit, my mule! Okay, so we are one away from death. Yes, that is true. If we get hit one more time, we are going to lose. So we need to make sure this turn is played as perfect as possible. The mole, fortunately, doesn't do damage. We need to deal with this coyote in any way possible. This bat requires 4 bones to summon, so we can actually just summon it for free, essentially, right now. We have 2 squirrels, as well as this, this monster, this lake monster, which the mirror symbol indicates that any creature that's in front of it, yeah, that's right. It's already inked up. The creature that's in front of it, it gets that attack power. So if I summoned it in front of the coyote here, I would get 2 attack power on the inky lagoon creature. And this bloodhound is also considered part of the wolf tribe. They're doggos, I guess. So this bloodhound will get flying when I play it. But it costs 2. So I think the plan is just to play the bat for free, take out that coyote, and now I just realized it's not going to take out that coyote. It's actually going to do damage. But you know what? That actually saves us for another turn. It's just unfortunate that I didn't think that one through. I think we just end the turn. We do 2 damage back, and now he's going to do damage to our bat. Okay, so we have a bunch of squirrels now. We can't necessarily summon them on the board just yet, though. This mole is going to die to our creatures. I think what we have to do is play our inky lagoon creature, for lack of a better name. So it has 2 attack, 3 health. It's not going to fly over the coyote. It is going to take out the coyote, and now it has 0 damage. Okay, so now we're in a tricky position because we are out of cards in our deck. These are the only cards we have left, and at the end of his phase here, after we take out 1 life, he's going to do a cheating attack, essentially. We're just gonna fill our hands up with squirrels and slowly chip away at him. As long as he's not attacking, this is going to keep working. Grab another squirrel, and now we have a handful of squirrels. Alright, so we finally took out his first life. It reverts back to neutral. There's gold in them there cards. So, this is what I was saying. He is cheating. He's killing all of our creatures, and any creature he kills turns into a gold nugget. And that is our final squirrel card. So no more drawing cards for us. Unfortunately, we can't even do anything because our board is filled with gold nuggets, so we have to pass the turn. Alright. The battle had taken a toll on you. Your supply of new creatures was exhausted. Starvation began to set in. I think this is the first time this has happened to me. Starvation. Repulsive. If a creature would attack a card bearing the sigil, it does not. What? Uh-oh. This is not going so hot. Can we even play anything? Everything costs 2 to summon, so we cannot. So all we can do right now is play a squirrel as a blocker. He's got a Death Adder coming up. Oh, and the starvation gets stronger and stronger. Uh-oh. This is a bad time to learn about this mechanic, I'll say that much. So he didn't destroy this gold nugget, which means we have to do the same thing as we did last time. Play a squirrel as a blocker and pray. Okay, so now we have a full board, and the starvation sets in even stronger. However, if I'm doing some math correctly, and I think I am, he has no opportunity to block flying units. So what we can do is fill the board with squirrels. And this Bloodhound is shaking because its ability is to jump in front of creatures that get summoned. And instead of summoning this moose buck, we summon the wolf in the center so it can attack 2 different directions. And then we sacrifice the squirrels to play the Bloodhound, end our turn, and since they're all flying, we just do straight damage to his face and win the battle. That was a lot scarier than it should have been, folks, but we got through it. Allow me to light your candles once more. I won't be killing you quite yet. Alright, and we get a reward for killing the boss. You're the first in a while to overcome a boss. As a reward, you're granted an opportunity to select a rare card. Choose carefully. Poor abandoned child. It does not die when sacrificed, but do you have the heart to try? So it costs 1, doesn't do a damage, but you can sacrifice it infinitely. The amorphous amoeba, its sigils are ever changing. So this question mark sigil means that anytime you draw it, it'll have a different ability, and it costs 2 bones to summon. Or the prudent pack rat, never doubt the utility of a well-stocked pack. So it's interesting because when it dies, if I remember correctly, it'll Trinket Bearer. When the card bearing this sigil is played, you receive a random item as long as you can carry it. You can only carry 3 items at a time. I think we're going to play the amoeba because it is just an easy play, even if it's a little weak. And then we go on to the next region. So we just finished the little forest area. The rank smell of rot and mold permeated the humid air. Every step forward was answered by some nearby slip or slither. You tread cautiously into the wetlands. And then we continue forward. So we got a little bit of a board up ahead. Let's go. So this is a challenge. I don't necessarily know if we can do this said challenge. We could use more items, and this is an easier battle than this one. So we're going to go to the right. I want new cards, and I don't want to fail the challenge. Again, we have our 4-leaf clover. Our deck could use more cheap summons, I feel like, so I'm going to go with this one. The elusive otter, it submerges itself during my turn. And we have to take it. Which seems okay to me. Let's get some more items back. You found a squirrel in a bottle, break in case of emergency. Another useful implement. It'll allow you to tip the scales with it. If you deem it necessary, you may cut up one of my cards with these. So out of these items, I feel like the scissors is most important. Some bone tokens for a rainy night, or another squirrel. These are all not the best items. We don't really need the bone tokens. We don't have a bone deck going. We already have some pliers, which we're not really using. So let's just take the squirrel. Go to the next battle. We have some stumps on the field, and he's going to play a bullfrog. There is our river otter. I think the play is we summon the squirrel, sack it for the river otter on this space. The river otter attacks, does 1 damage, but then submerges itself. So now the bullfrog cannot attack the river otter, but the river otter can attack the bullfrog. Let's draw another card. We got our wolf, which is very important to our deck. It is basically the key piece. Unfortunately, we cannot summon it right now unless we break the squirrel. Let me just do some math in my head. Actually, oh no, the bullfrog. Actually, no. You know what? We can just win right now. Let's do it. Let's play the squirrel. Sack them both. Play the wolf. The wolf attacks both directions, flies over the stump, does 6 damage straight to his face, and win the battle. Any creature that can do 6 damage in 1 turn is ridiculous, which is why I gave the wolf that bifurcated strike. Now we go on forward and get a new card for our deck. The Tragic Rat King. When their tangled bodies become corpses, you can gain 4 bones. Or the River Snapper, a stalwart snapper, a near impenetrable defense. So I'm not a big fan of these cards. The Moose Buck is interesting because there's a little mushroom here. If you have 2 of the same card in your deck, you might encounter an NPC later that can do something with them. But having 2 Moose Bucks in our hand is kind of scary because we can't summon them easily. Let's go with the River Snapper. It's the easiest summon and actually does something, unlike the Rat King. It's very costly for what it does, and we don't need the bones. Okay, so now we're in the same position where we can sacrifice 1 monster to make another one more powerful. Unfortunately, all of our choices of what to sacrifice are not the strongest units. Let's maybe check out what we can do with the River Otter here. We can make the River Snapper submerge, but that seems unwise because he's meant to be a defense. The Amoeba, also not the strongest idea there, in my opinion. What if we give something... What if we give the River Snapper the Bullfrog blocking ability? So now the River Snapper can fly, block flyers. Doesn't seem like the strongest play, but we don't have the strongest deck right now, and unfortunately we're going to go battle a strong enemy. We're going to do the standard battle, except their birds are defensive, which is going to be a bit of an issue, I'm sure. Our Amoeba has flying, and then the Kingfisher has the defensive ability here, the Guardian. Whenever you play a creature, it'll jump to that square to block that lane. He's already summoning 5 damage right away, which is very scary. So... Man, I don't even know. Thankfully, this Kingfisher is actually not going to block because it submerges. So I think we play a Squirrel, we play a Stoat, and go. Unfortunately, it's going to do 5 damage to us. And we're already 1 away from dying. Now we're in a very, very tricky spot here. In fact, I don't know if we can do anything about this. I'm trying to look at my items. Sorry. Let's pray to the heart of the cards, see what we get. We got our River Snapper. We can't even play the Amoeba. So we have to play... I think we just lose this. Actually... Well, okay. What we can do to not lose immediately is we can snip up this bat. This Coyote is going to attack the Rabbit Pelt, and this is going to do 1 damage, but the Stoat is going to do 1 damage, so we survive for 1 more turn. But he is playing a River Otter to get another free damage next turn. Let's play our Squirrel. We do have our Amoeba, so we can play that. It is flying, though, which is actually really unfortunate. That flying is going to hurt us. I think now we just lose. Unfortunately. Because the Amoeba is not going to attack the Coyote. It's going to fly over and do 1 damage. So, and this does 1 damage as well. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to sack the Amoeba, even though we just summoned it. Play our River Snapper. We're going to also use this Pliers for the first time. I don't know if this is going to help us at all. But yeah, you use the Pliers to pluck out a tooth out of your mouth and put it on the scale. I think we might still lose. We actually survived another turn. Okay, 1 more turn. What do we get here? I was really hoping for the wolf. The wolf would have done something for us. This Moose Buck, we literally cannot summon. We have to end our turn. And we're just struggling, doing 1 damage back and forth. Unfortunately, the Coyote takes out our Stoat. He's going to summon a Raven Egg, which is a 0-2, but actually gets stronger in 1 more turn. The egg hatches. There is our wolf. Again, we cannot summon it, so we lose this battle. That is unfortunate. The totem didn't really affect the battle. It was just a very strong battle to begin with. And we lose 1 of our lights, 1 of our candles. That was 1 of the 2 mistakes you can make here. If you make another, I must sacrifice you. Now, where were we? I just immediately went over here. I don't know if that was the wise decision, but we've done it. The inviolable beehive. When it is attacked, you will draw a bee. River otter again, or the undying cat. Sacrificing the poor beast does not kill it. Let's take the river otter and go for the double synergy, even though we don't necessarily know if we'll have that opportunity to use it in the future. We'll go to another sacrificial stone. See what we can make happen here. So it's asking us to sacrifice one of our river otters or amoeba. I think this time we sacrifice the amoeba or the stoat, because we don't really have a whole lot of strong choices here, and I kind of want to keep my river otters as is, even though having the amoeba as a free bone summon is sometimes wise. Okay, so our stoat has the ability to defend. Alright, this is should be less tricky of a fight, but still cannot let our guard down. Do we summon the stoat first? The stoat will defend from the bullfrog. The river otter just straight attacks and cannot be attacked. So that seems like the better play. We're going to play the river otter right here. Do 1 damage on first turn. Bullfrog attacks back. And also attacks the stump to our right. Let's play... I don't want to play the stoat because it's going to try to defend and immediately die to the coyote. So... I think we... What do we got on the board? That's right, it was just the river otter. We got to take the turn to pull a squirrel out of our deck. And then I think we might even just end the turn. Do 1 damage to the bullfrog. And we take a lot of damage in the process. So now we're in a tricky spot. Trying to think this through. It's not that tricky, I guess. We're gonna pull a card from our deck. We got a worker ant that's actually pretty useful. The worker ant can be sacrificed infinite times. Just saying that for myself so I remember. I think we play the squirrel, play the ant. The river otter and the worker ant will kill the bullfrog and coyote. He plays a rattler. I don't know if I've seen this card before. And we lose. I didn't even think that one through at all. We lose. You know what? It's bound to happen. Alas, it is time for you to perish. So I kind of wonder how this works in this game. Oh, you just defeat. We defeated 1 boss. We drew 66 cards. 6 misplays. Honestly, probably true. Probably more than that, maybe. Jeez. Well, retry run at the same config, or we can go back. I think that's going to do it for this video. In the base game, there were 3 main bosses, and then a special boss at the end. A little bit of spoilers there, I guess. But if you're watching this far, it means you might even already know that. Who knows? But because this is a roguelite, I can only imagine that there are more bosses, maybe even up to 5, or who knows. But yeah, I'm very intrigued. I hope you are too. If you are, definitely check out Inscryption on Steam. It is $20 or your regional equivalent. It is a very, very solid game. The main story took me about 10 hours to beat, and I had a really good time doing it, even though there were some moments of unsuredness, I guess. There's some odd moments in this game, I'll say that much. Not including that whole card game with the cabin nonsense that you've already seen. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed that, click the like button, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!